Hello and welcome to another Political Dregs. You may notice there's one person missing today. Hamish can't be here for personal reasons, but I'm going to do my impersonation of Hamish today. I've got my library in the background. We're going to go ahead anyway. I am Calvin Robinson. I am a secondary school teacher. Joining me today is Joel Davidson, a accountant.
Evening.
And Amir Sajadi, a property developer.
Thank you. That's me.
And we're going to talk about politics because we're all involved in certain degrees in the political sphere. We've all been knocking on doors for the campaign. We've all been out about electioneering. So before we get to any of that, in the last episode I mentioned there was going to be an announcement that would hopefully help the Brexit Party and the Conservative Party and their voters and the Leave voters and just this whole mass of people that want to get Brexit done. And you may have noticed that we launched a website called Unite2Leave. This is based on the idea that it's going to give you tactical voting information. If you want to leave the European Union, but you don't know who to vote for in your constituency, bang in your postcode, it will pop up saying, in your area, you're recommended to vote for this person, whether that's Tory or Brexit Party or Ulster Union Party or whatever. It doesn't matter. It will give you the best possible candidate that has the best chance of getting elected so that we can get Brexit done. You guys have seen it. What do you make of it?
Yeah, well, we were just saying it's really impressive, Sia, whether you're a Leaver or not, what you've done here, because a theme on the show has been that this general election is clearly a one-issue election. It's a national election based on whether you want Brexit to happen or not, frankly. The Conservatives have benefited from essentially all of that vote going to them now, or without really having done a particularly good job of delivering Brexit, I would say, over 3 years either. So somewhat fortuitously, I would say. But what really has built up over that 3 years is this sort of identity amongst Leave voters of being a Leave voter. So it's become more of a cultural...
It's the new tribe, isn't it? Leavers and Remainers.
Yeah, I mean, it's become... And obviously the parties are disappointed, both sides, so often now with all these promises that they've not delivered. All three parties, really. I think you'd have to agree with that as well, Amir.
Well, I'm not tribal, Joel.
What's the third party?
I'm not tribal, so I hate being tagged a Leaver because
you're not.
I don't think anyone's tagging you as a Leaver anymore, are they?
I don't feel associated to the different sections and spectrum of Leave voters.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there is still a small minority in the middle, but I mean, I think politics has been redefined by this. I mean, I feel, even though I'm definitely on the soft Leave end and have been criticised, taken a lot of flack from Leavers for being a little bit too soft in terms of what I would accept for Leave. I still definitely do want to leave and still think that it's extremely important for democracy that we do leave.
Well, you have no choice, otherwise you'd be kicked out of the Tory party.
Well, true, but obviously I actually voted Leave, unlike many. But look, I did so thinking that I would be more than happy with a Switzerland or a Norway style arrangement, essentially leaving critical institutions. But I know that's not particularly popular now. However, it's clear that the what you've done with this site is really galvanized a lot of identity, and to coalesce now around a real outlet for that, because under our voting system, obviously, that was very difficult to translate that enthusiasm or that identity into the ballot box. But your site is obviously doing that now. And I noticed it's clashed with a lot of Remainer sites, sort of tactical voting sites. So I don't know if we want to talk about those as well. But I think in comparison, you've really marked your territory out as the one to go to for anyone who is a Leave voter and wants to know who to vote for.
Cheers. It's been particularly tough. I've taken a lot of backlash from the Brexit Party and from the Conservative Party. Certain candidates wish they were the person to vote for.
I mean, but it's based on data, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then who designed the site? I mean, what's your team consist of?
So we've got an amazing team of data scientists. They've looked at the general election data from 2015, from 2017, the EU referendum data, the EU parliamentary data, as well as local polls, and talking to people on the ground in the constituencies, and it's constantly being looked at and analysed and addressed. So it's really, really good what the team's doing to make sure that this is the most accurate data that we can rely on. But if you look at it in comparison to what the Remain ones are doing, there's some shady stuff out there. So I know you guys sent me some links recently. I saw they're telling people to vote for the SNP. They're telling people to vote for even shadier parties like Sinn Féin.
Spain, mate, the worst of the worst in Northern Ireland. I couldn't believe it. I mean,
which site was that, Joel? I mean, they can't all be telling you to vote for Sinn Féin. I mean, there are some shady sites.
I saw it side by side along that seat.
Along that list.
Maybe I think you probably sent it to me, being the expert on the Remain site.
Well, how badly do you want Remain? You know,
one of the sites.
Terrorists is virtually unrepentant terrorists is really one step beyond.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I don't disagree with you, Joe. In fact, I do agree with you. It is wrong to endorse shady characters and shady candidates, but I don't know. I mean, it's always a challenge because we live in a society where we have no choice but to tactically vote. We live in a country where the electoral system is so obviously broken, and we're forced to revert to social media and sites like these to direct us in the way that we actually want to vote. And it's just a demonstration of how broken our system really is. And I tell you something, one thing I do like about the Brexit Party, one thing, or two things actually, but I'll tell you one, is their desire to reform the electoral system. So it's much more democratic and much more representative of how people want to vote. For me, it's very stupid how I have to vote for another party just to get the result that I want.
Well, I mean, no, I mean, I think, but in this particular election, it's again a recurring theme that we've talked about. This is a national one-issue election. Essentially, it is a second referendum, or a third referendum, or whatever. But I mean, it's on whether you want Brexit delivered or not, or whether you want Brexit.
It shouldn't be, though. Shouldn't be.
No, maybe not, but it is. And so which is because of our system, like you say, it's very difficult to give vent or to give expression to what you want most of all in an election. And so these sites are now a way of showing that. So it's really breaking party loyalties, or testing them anyway.
Yeah, this issue is bigger than any party allegiance, isn't it? It's But
I mean, yeah, because of the original result, 17.4 million, whichever was such a book.
Calvin, how many Vote Leave tactical voting sites are there? Is this the only one, or are there?
No, there's a couple that I know of, but none of them are particularly useful from my perspective, and they're not particularly well designed either. So it's good to have something that's smooth and fast and reliable.
Yeah, the
interface is really good.
I had a little play with it, and I was kind of messing around with the chart a little bit and trying to see the different constituency breakdowns. And I, actually, in terms of coding, I used to code. It is a really good website, so I have to give you credit for that.
Cheers.
I'm just my only wonder is it too late? Is it too late for you to impact the result?
We've still got a few days left to save Brexit. I'll say that.
But save is the right word, because you do need this. We do need at least 340, 350 MPs to be sure that it will happen. We don't get that.
Back to my original point. How broken is our electoral system?
But what do you want to do to it? Because we had the vote on AV. The country said no. The Brexit Party is talking about reforming the House of Lords, which is, if we're going to reform the House of Lords, I'd probably say just undo what Tony Blair did. It was a much better system before with hereditary peers, and I know Hamish isn't here to speak, but he'd probably agree to that as well.
It's been so devalued now. I mean, the peerage, there's so many of them, there's thousands. It's not even a prestigious honour anymore.
It's ridiculous. But what kind of reform do we want?
If they made you a lord, you wouldn't say no, would you? So
how do you know?
At the same time, you're criticizing the system. But if they were to offer you a peerage, you'd say, yeah, happily you'd accept it, and you'd collect your £300 a day, wouldn't you?
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
When we get there. Hopefully soon.
But you haven't answered the question, man. What kind of reform would you like to see?
I think it has to be representative of a 21st century. I actually would like to see new PhDs on electoral systems. I don't think we have yet discovered the best, most ideal system. So I would like to see research done at top universities on this exact topic, and maybe case studies in different environments to see what could and would produce the best kind of representative result.
Right. So you talk about some date way in the future. You're not talking about changing anything right now.
I mean, it's difficult because obviously it's not going to happen because turkeys don't vote for Christmas. The Conservative Party will not vote for a system or an electoral system which sacrifices their position in authority and power.
Yeah, but you say that we've had a referendum on it before. We could have a referendum on it in a different form again, and we've had hung parliaments and coalitions before, so you never know what's going to happen.
I don't mind the London system. It's a bit complicated, but I don't mind it. I like the idea that you have a list of proportional representatives and you also have constituency-based representatives.
Yeah. There should just be a lot more of them. It's just that the constituencies are ridiculously big. One representative per 2 constituencies means you don't get great representation in that particular role. It becomes more, and then you don't have ceremony.
We have more MPs here than in the houses, the congressmen and women in the houses of in America.
Sure, I was just talking about London specifically. It's a bit ridiculous, that the 2 constituencies for 1 assembly member. But that sort of system where it's split would work if there were more of them, I think. Yeah.
And even the mayoral system where you have 1 vote, 2 vote. I mean, that was alternative vote, wasn't it? Or is that different?
That is a form of alternative vote, yeah, because it's first preference and then
first
reality. Yeah.
Well, that means it means that whoever wins has to get 50% of the vote eventually.
Yes, exactly, in a runoff.
Which is how the Conservative Party elected the Prime Minister, right?
True. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, so I've been out and about back on the campaign trail this week. I assume you've been out, Amir. Well, in fact, I know you have because I saw you video call from campaigning on the way home. What's the story this week? What's going on?
Well, I mean, I've been hammering and knocking on doors every single day. I've been out by the tube station in Parsons Green and Fulham Broadway, by Putney Bridge Station. I've been knocking on doors. I've been talking to all kinds of people. I've been outside primary schools.
Right.
And last week I was a little bit discouraged because the response was minimal. The people weren't taking leaflets. And
I mean, we're getting hyper local now, but I will say that the Lib Dems have probably fought the best campaign I've seen them fight in a long time. I have had so much literature through my door. I don't need to get any coal for my fire for the next 3 months, mate. It's ridiculous.
I'm the same in Hampstead and Kilburn constituency. But I mean, I've just so much junk inside, all piled up from the Lib Dems. It's I've never seen anything like it.
Who funds you, Amir? Who funds you?
I don't know. I mean,
it's ridiculous. Who's delivering this stuff?
Apparently, I don't know. An anonymous backer has said that within the next 24 hours, he will match any person's donation up to £300,000.
But I mean, donations are one thing. So you've got a spending limit now. We're in the short campaign, so I don't even understand that.
But what we have seen, but that's the point, isn't it? Can't you now? There isn't really any regulation on doing outside ads, for instance, on Facebook that are sending a certain political message to support a certain party, but they're not actually from that party.
But we in Chelsea of Fulham have reached our limit as far as local spend, but we haven't even begun to break into our national spend. So
but that's why we're saying this is and surely any like Remain Alliance and all of these. I mean, they're pushing the same message, so that's.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's we'll see. I think that for the first time here, because this is such a national election, I mean, the Conservatives will have to benefit purely from that national message, I would say, or mainly.
It's been effective as well. I went out to Beaconsfield again this week. Rob Castle stood down, the Lib Dem candidate, to enable Dominic Grieve as an independent to get all the Lib Dem support. That's been interesting. And the Lib Dems out there have been out in force backing an independent candidate. This Remain Alliance is working for them. It's bonkers to see.
And how has the response been on the door, Calvin?
It's been quite mixed. It's a lot closer than I thought it would be. Worryingly so. I've seen a lot of Dominic Grieve posters in windows, and you know me, I don't believe in the personal vote. I don't, not to the degree that a lot of people do anyway. I don't really think that many people think, I'm going to vote for that guy, regardless of their party. So I don't think he's pulling a personal vote. I think he is just getting the Remain vote. There are a lot of Remain people in that area, and they're not going to vote Lib Dem because there's not a Lib Dem candidate. So he is the guy for them.
And it's a very high.
Labour were polling quite high, How many were Labour polling in Beaconsfield?
Oh, I didn't see any Labour people.
I saw that I saw a poll and Labour were doing
very low. No, in fact, it's still very low. It's a very wealthy constituency. I mean, very sophisticated. They all know the issues. Like, they don't really need to. They don't need to be told. Everyone there will know how they're going to vote or how they have voted potentially already in postals, and it will be entirely, as you say, about whether they want to leave or remain. That is, frankly, I'm not. So.
But I assumed all the independents would get just owned. But I think he could come second in this.
I mean, if he's been a good local MP,
but he hasn't.
He's been useless.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
second is really no good anyway. So
you're telling me he hasn't, but if he had been,
then he might have won. Yeah,
a good local MP, then I think he would have had this. It would have been a walk in the park for him. So,
well, crazy that the Lib Dems are standing against Gork, because he actually was probably a little bit better, I think, as an MP, it seems. But
well, he joined the race quite late, and I'm not quite sure about negotiations that went on behind the scenes. But
it's always into politics, isn't it? Always.
Honestly, I think it is a bit ridiculous. I think the Lib Dems should have made. I mean, they reappointed a candidate in Canterbury after the Canterbury candidate stood down, and I think that was a bit ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because if they really want to stop Brexit, which is what they say, what we say, then we should be more proactive in the way we go about it. We should be willing to step down, or should have been willing to step down in seats where it wouldn't, where the vote really would have been split. So I don't really know what the overall national objective and agenda is. It's no longer to win 330 whatever seats in Parliament. So we have to see how it pans out. But I saw actually today, it's quite interesting because I read this link about 24 target seats where the Lib Dems might actually win. And I'll link it to you guys later. And then maybe we can talk about it next time.
So they are like the mirror version of the Brexit Party. There's probably about 30 seats that the Brexit Party should really be targeting. And I think the Lib Dems are the same on the other end of the spectrum. So it's going to be interesting results anyway, whatever happens. What are you going to do on polling day?
Get the vote out,
TBD. We should definitely try to...
We have to wake up really early. We have to deliver the good morning leaflets and...
Those are the days, good old dawn raids.
And then knock on doors and count votes at telling stations and update the computer system, and then go back to doors like 500 times all the way through till 10 p.m. And then we end up in a count where we're completely knackered and tired and we're falling over.
Yeah.
To collect sampling polling data.
Well, we'll see how we do. Are you going to go to Beaconsfield on the day, CO? Or
I think I'll be at a local count, but I think what Amir just said spot on. And if there are any people watching, I don't know what our audience is, but if there's anyone watching this that doesn't know what get out the vote means, it's basically this whole period of the election up until now. We've been getting data, we've been canvassing, we've been knocking on doors, trying to find out who you're going to vote for, so that the ones that are going to vote for our party on election day, on polling day, we can knock them up and say, have you got out and voted? That is it. That's all we do in elections, really. Which is why I always find it so funny when we get people on the doorstep that are like really aggressive. I'm like, yes, good. That's against us. We know. We'll never knock on your door ever again. That's fine. But the ones who
if you run a good campaign that's well organised, then you won't. Yeah, but obviously,
you shouldn't knock on the door again.
No.
But the uppity ones who are always like, oh, I'm not going to tell you. It's very private. All that means is someone else is going to knock on your door because we just want to know who you're voting for. So we either give you more information or never see you again.
The best way to get people, canvassers, off your doorstep is to tell them how you're going to vote.
Yeah.
And even if you lie, it will get them off your doorstep.
Especially if you're not voting for that party. No one's going to try and judge you or change your mind. We're just going to vote you.
100%. I was very proud to have a Labour canvasser last week. I said, absolutely no way. Anti-Semitic.
And if you want, and this is like advanced techniques of winning an election. If you want a party to win, your party, then whenever the opposition parties come to your doorstep, invite them in for a tea, have a little conversation, invite them over for lunch. Why not? Introduce them to your cats, your family. Waste their time.
Yeah.
Well, but I think Labour in particular are so repellent that they need to know that. But no, that's how to win elections from the very ground up. I mean, that's how to do it at council level, at the constituency level should be the same. So you're obviously doing that, Amir, and Chelsea and Fulham will be a particularly interesting race to look at on the night. I know there's been a lot of activity there.
It's really scary, actually, because we have no idea how her name recognition is going to go down. It's very hard to value how important her celebrity is.
Who's this? Ovaltine.
Exactly. Yeah, and then the other question is, we don't know how the Remain votes are going to equate into Lib Dem votes, and there's a third point, and that's we don't know how tactical voting is going to affect the final result. So, even though the polling up till now has put the Conservatives ahead, we have literally no idea what's going to happen on election night. But we're confident. We'll see.
So that's been another Political Dregs. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Calvin. With me has been Joel and Amir.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
And we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye. Oh, bye from Hamish too. Do we have any friends of the shows, Joel?
Well, Hamish is the best friend of the show, so obviously, we hope to have him back for the next one. Who else do we have? Well, we've got friends across London and across the UK now, haven't we? Scotland.
Well, if he actually comes back to watch our show after you completely ripped apart
Who?
and the Scottish people, and I was the only one trying to.
Who ripped it apart? We were standing up for Scotland.
We love Scotland.
The core of Britain.
I was the only one trying to stand up for Scotland, but I failed.
Love having Scotland as part of my country.
Absolutely, yeah. Here.
Well, I had a message from someone, and they said they're a secret admirer of me, I guess, because they're secretly following my political career. I don't have one. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a politician, but
Okay.
Well, hello to them. It's good to have another friend.
Yeah, let's leave that there.